Okay, welcome to the first reading
The
assignment.
Tragedy of
for Freshman
Romeo
English.
and Juliet by William
We're
Shakespeare.
going to read the prologue and Act 1, Scene 1. So as you're listening and following along in your text, we'll be talking about this character map, and I'll be following the text along over here as well, and highlighting key points and pausing the audio to discuss.
Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene, from ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured piteous overthrows doth with their death bury their parents' strife. The fearful passage of their death-marked love, and the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's end naught could remove, is now the 2 hours' traffic of our stage, the which if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend.
Alright, so in the prologue, the chorus discusses, as we've talked about in class, it sets up the conflict of the play. Notice some of the foreshadowing elements that we see here with terms like fatal and death. We know that this is going to come to a tragic ending. However, the teaser here is the fact that we don't know how it will come to a tragic ending. So that is, of course, why we watch. So now into Act 1, Scene 1. And basically what we have here is we're going to have Samson and Gregory, a couple of Capulet servants, swaggering across the stage, and they're going to be joking and bragging, and then they're going to meet servants from the rival household of the Montagues. So we have the two rival families, the Capulets and the Montagues, and then we're going to have a quarrel that begins, and it grows into an ugly fight in the street. Finally, the ruler of Verona, Prince Aeschylus, who we'll add up here, we'll add his name in a minute. He appears, he's angry about the violence in the city, and warns that the next offenders will receive the death penalty. The crowd fades away, and the stage is set for the entrance of Romeo, the heir of the Montague family. So Romeo, however, when he comes on stage, which we'll see, he is lovesick and miserable. But for right now, let's begin with Scene 1.
Gregory! On my word, we'll not carry coals.
No, for then we should
Samson
be
and
colliers.
Gregory are the
Are we
two
being collar? We'll draw.
Aye, won't
Capulet
you draw your neck out,
servants.
collar?
I strike quickly, being moved.
But thou art not quickly moved to strike.
A dog of the house of Montague moves me.
To move is to stir, and to be valiant is to stand. Therefore, if thou art moved, thou runnest away.
A dog of that house shall move me to stand. I will take the wall of any man or maid of Montague's.
That shows thee a weak slave, for the weakest goes to the wall.
'Tis true. And therefore women, being the weaker vessels, are ever thrust to the wall. Therefore I will push Montague's men from the wall, and thrust his maids to the wall.
The quarrel is between our masters and us, their men.
'Tis all one. I will show myself a tyrant. When I have fought with the men, I will be cruel with the maids. I will cut off their heads.
The heads of the maids?
Aye, the heads of the maids, or their maiden heads. Take it in what sense thou wilt.
They must take it in sense that feel it.
Me they shall feel while I am able to stand. And 'tis known I am a pretty piece of flesh.
'Tis well thou art not fish. If thou hadst been poor John.
Okay, so basically Samson and Gregory walking through the streets. They're, just as any guys would do, trying to one-up each other and how they would deal with the Montagues. Gregory is giving Samson a hard time with regards to how he would deal with it. You're going to go to the wall? Well, that's the weakest, you know, and so they're trying to one-up each other with how they deal with the Montagues. And now they're going to have that opportunity because Gregory, right here, he's going to spot the Montagues across the busy street.
Well, that's all. Here comes two of the house of Montagues.
My naked weapon is out. Quarrel, I will back thee.
How? Turn thy back and run.
Fear me not.
No, marry, I fear thee.
Let's take the law of our sides. Let them begin.
I will frown as I pass by, and let them take it as they list.
Nay, as they dare. I will bite my thumb at them, which is disgrace to them if they bear it.
Okay, so they're acting, I mean, basically, in today's world, you can consider them to be providing them with hand signals that they would consider to be offensive. I'll let your imagination decide what hand signals they might be referring to.
Aye.
You bite your thumb at us, sir.
I do bite my thumb, sir.
Do you bite your thumb at us, sir?
Is the law of our side if I say aye? No. No, sir. I do not bite my thumb at you, sir. But I bite my thumb, sir.
Do you quarrel, sir?
Quarrel, sir? No, sir.
All right, so they're going to bite their thumbs, which is a sign of aggression, much like sticking up the middle finger is today. Abraham and Balthazar are minding their own business as Samson and Gregory walk by. That's why Samson, in an aside to Gregory, you'll notice he asks, is it okay if I do say yes, I will stick my thumb at them? So Gregory obviously says no, and Samson kind of backs off a little bit. So you can see how these these four young servants are kind of dancing around the idea of a quarrel without actually aggressively attacking at this point. But the dialogue will continue.
But if you do, sir, I am for you. I serve as good a man as you.
No better.
Well, sir.
Say better. Here comes one of my master's kinsmen.
Yes, better, sir.
You lie!
Draw, if you be men! Gregory, remember thy swashing blow.
Rebels! Put up your swords! You know not what you do.
What, art thou drawn among these heartless hinds? Turn thee, Benvolio, look upon thy death.
I do but keep the peace. Put up thy sword, or manage it to part these men with me.
What, drawn and talk of peace? I hate the word as I hate hell, all Montagues, and thee. Have at thee, coward!
Alright, so Tybalt and Benvolio end up entering here, and this is going to turn into a larger and larger fray. But Benvolio is the cousin of Romeo and the nephew of the Montagues, and Tybalt is the cousin in the Capulet side, so his name will go down here. Tybalt is, as you can see, he's kind of a hot-headed young man as he jumps into the fray and doesn't hesitate. And it's going to, you'll see here that this ends up being a larger fight than what it was originally intended to be.
What noise is this? Give me my long sword, ho!
A crutch, a crutch. Why call you for a sword?
My sword, I say, old Montague is coming, flourishes his blade in spite of me.
Maybe Capulet is
Villain Capulet!
giving him a hard time for his age.
Let me go! Thou shalt not stir 1 foot to seek a foe.
So now this battle has turned into an epic battle royale with the two families attacking each other. And here comes the prince to stop it.
Rebellious subjects! Enemies to peace! Profaners of this neighbour's stained steel! Will they not hear? What ho, you men, you beasts! But quench the fire of your pernicious rage with purple fountains issuing from your veins, on pain of torture from those bloody hands. Throw your mistempered weapons to the ground and hear the sentence of your moved prince.
So basically he tells them to throw their weapons down or you will be tortured. And he's going to give them a punishment here.
3 civil brawls, bred of an airy word, by thee, old Capulet and Montague, have thrice disturbed the quiet of our
3
streets,
fights have
and
happened.
made Verona's ancient citizens cast by their grave-beseeming ornaments to wield old partisans, in hands as old, cankered with peace, to part your cankered hate. If ever you disturb our streets again, your lives shall pay the forfeit of the peace. For this time all the rest depart away. You, Capulet, shall go along with me, and Montague, come you this afternoon to know our farther pleasure in this case to Old Freetown, our common judgment place. Once more, on pain of death, all men depart!
So everybody leaves except for Montague, Lady Montague, and Benvolio, their nephew. But basically says, if you ever disturb our streets again,
set this
your
ancient
lives shall
quarrel
pay the
new
forfeit of the
approach?
peace.
Speak, nephew. Were you by when it began?
So, and Lord Montague wants to know how this whole thing started.
Here were the servants of your adversary and yours close fighting ere I did approach. I drew to part them. In the instant came the fiery Tybalt with his sword prepared, which, as he breathed defiance to my ears, he swung about his head and cut the winds, who, nothing hurt withal, hissed him in scorn. While we were interchanging thrusts and blows, came more and fought on part and part, till the prince came, who parted either part.
Oh, where is Romeo? Saw you him today? Right glad I am he was not at this fray.
Madam.
Okay, so their boy Romeo was not at the fight, and she wants to know where he is. Now pay attention to how Benvolio responds and how Montague responds to what Benvolio saw of Romeo. That's going to share tell us about his mood.
An hour before the worshipped sun peered forth the golden window of the east.
So before dawn.
A troubled mind drave me to walk abroad, where, underneath the grove of sycamore that westward rooteth from this city side, so early walking did I see your son. Towards him I made, but he was ware of me and stole into the covert of the wood. I, measuring his affections by my own, which then most sought where most might not be found, being won too many by my weary self, pursued my humour, not pursuing his, and gladly shunned who gladly fled from me.
Many a morning hath he there been seen, with tears augmenting the fresh morning's dew, adding to clouds more clouds with his deep sighs. But all so soon as the all-cheering sun should in the farthest east begin to draw the shady curtains from Aurora's bed, away from light steals home my heavy son, and private in his chamber pens himself, shuts up his windows, locks fair daylight out, and makes himself an artificial night. Black and portentous must this humour prove, unless good counsel may the cause remove.
Alright, so Montague and Benvolio are both talking about Romeo and how he's behaving. Notice how he says Romeo saw him, towards him I made, but he was aware of me and stole into the covert of the wood. He saw him and disappeared into the woods, and obviously Benvolio wasn't, he said, well, pursued my humor, not pursuing his, and gladly shunned who gladly fled from me. So he's like, fine, I won't talk to you either. And then Montague obviously is talking about how Romeo behaves on a daily basis. He shuts himself in his room, the shady curtains from Aurora's bed, away from the light steals home my heavy son, and private in his chamber pens himself, shuts up his windows, locks far daylight out, and makes himself an artificial night. So, and notice the words that Shakespeare uses here: black, shuts up, steals, light steals away, and so all of this is kind of shedding light on Romeo being in a sad mood.
Well, uncle, do you know the cause?
I neither know it nor can learn of him.
So nobody knows why.
Have you importuned him by any means?
Benvolio
Both
asked,
by myself
have you asked
and
him?
many other friends, but he, his own affection's counsellor, is to himself, I will not say how true, but to himself so secret and so close, so far from sounding and discovery, as is the bud bit with an envious worm ere he can spread his sweet leaves to the air or dedicate his beauty to the sun. Could we but learn from whence his sorrows grow, we would as willingly give cure as know.
Okay, so, and then Montague ends with, if only we did know we could possibly help him, we would as willingly give cure as know.
No.
See where he comes. So please you step aside. I'll know his grievance or be much denied.
I would thou wert so happy by thy stay to hear true shrift. Come, madam, let's away.
So Benvolio says, I'll know his grievance or be much denied, I'll figure it out. So Lady Montague, go.
But you struck 9.
Ay me, sad hours seem long. Was that my father that went hence so fast?
It was. But what sadness lengthens Romeo's hours?
There he asks
Not having that which having makes them short.
In love?
Out.
Of love?
Out of her favour where I am in love.
Alas, that...
And there it is. We find out that Romeo is in love. But no, he is out of her favor. So he is in love with the girl, and she doesn't love him back. And notice how and how in pain Romeo is when he says good morrow, and Romeo says, is the day so young? It's not even 9 o'clock. But Romeo says, sad hours seem long. And so there we see, it takes forever when your heart is broken for time to tick away.
Love so gentle in his view should be so tyrannous and rough in proof.
Alas, that love, whose view is muffled still, should without eyes see pathways to his will. Where shall we dine?
All right, so now they talk about love and how unfair love is, and then Romeo asks, where should we dine? But here you'll see he notices that there was a battle where they are now talking. There was a fight. And so he'll talk about fighting, but he'll also talk about love.
Oh me, what fray was here? Yet tell me not, for I have heard it all. It is much to do with hate, but more with love. Why, then, oh, brawling love, oh, loving hate, oh, anything of nothing first create, oh, heavy lightness, serious vanity, misshapen chaos of well-seeming forms, feather of lead, bright smoke, cold fire, sick health, still waking sleep that is not what it is. This love feel I, that feel no love in this. Dost thou not laugh?
No, because I rather weep. Good heart, at what? At thy good heart's oppression.
Why?
So Benvolio is thinking that Romeo here is being a little overdramatic, but notice Romeo's language with these contrasting words: brawling love, loving hate, heavy lightness, serious vanity. These contradicting terms talk about how we love to hate and hate to love, and the conflicting and complex issue that is young love.
Such is love's transgression. Griefs of mine own lie heavy in my breast, which thou wilt propagate to have it pressed with more of thine. This love that thou hast shown doth add more grief to too much of mine own. Love is a smoke raised with the fume of sighs, being purged of fire, sparkling in lovers' eyes, being vexed the sea, nourished with lovers' tears. What is it else? A madness most discreet, a choking gall, and a preserving
continuing
sweet
the contrasting language.
Soft I will go along, and if you leave me so, you do me wrong.
Dad, I have lost myself. I am not here. This is not Romeo. He's some other where.
Tell me in sadness, who is that you love?
What shall I groan and tell thee?
Who do you love?
Why, no, but sadly,
who is doing this to you?
Did a sick man in sadness make his will? Oh, word ill-urged to one that is so ill. In sadness, cousin, I do love.
I aimed so near when I supposed you loved.
And Benvolio's like, I guess that.
And she's fair, I love.
A right fair mark, fair coz, is soonest hit.
Well, in that hit you miss, she'll not be hit with Cupid's arrow. She hath Dian's wit, and in strong proof of chastity well armed. From love's weak childish bow she lives unharmed. She will not stay the siege of loving terms, nor bide the encounter of assailing eyes, nor ope her lap to saint-seducing gold. Oh, she is rich in beauty, only poor, that when she dies, with beauty dies her store.
Then she hath sworn that she will still live chaste.
She hath, and in that sparing makes huge waste. For beauty starved with her severity cuts beauty off from all posterity. She is too fair, too wise, wisely too fair, to merit bliss by making me despair. She hath forsworn to love, and in that vow do I live dead that live to tell it now.
Ah, be ruled by me. Forget to think of her. Oh.
And as a true friend, Benvolio says, just let her go out of your mind. But Romeo, in his overdramatic way, talks about how her beauty will die with her. That's how beautiful she is.
Teach me how I should forget to think.
He doesn't even know how he can forget about
thine eyes. Examine other beauties.
So, and Benvolio, his buddy that he is, he says, go find somebody else.
Exquisite in question more. These happy masks that kiss fair ladies' brows, being black, puts us in mind they hide the fair. He that is struck and blind cannot forget the precious treasure of his eyesight lost. Show me a mistress that is passing fair. What doth her beauty serve but as a note where I may read who passed that passing fair? Oh, farewell, thou canst not teach me to forget.
I'll pay that doctrine or else die in debt.
So Benvolio is exhausted at trying to turn Romeo away from the love that will not return his love. But he also, notice what Romeo says here, he that is stricken blind cannot forget the precious treasure of his eyesight lost. So it'll be impossible for Romeo to forget his beauty, and anybody he sees will be nothing compared to her. Okay, so that's the end of Scene 1 of Act 1. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put in some of the characters that we know into our character chart so that we can start to kind of identify who some of these people are and what their relationships are to each other. So the ruler of Verona, then, we learn that is Prince. And in the text, it's just labeled as Prince, but his name is Prince Aeschylus. And what I'm going to do is just copy and paste this over this text box so we can add it to the other areas as well. But we know that the son of the Montagues, that is Romeo. We know that we have Lady Montague. And we have Lord Montague. We have their servants. Gregory. And Samson. I'm sorry, those are these guys' servants. I bet somebody caught that. Those are Capulet servants. I mean, the Montague servants show up later. Abraham. And Balthazar. And we also learned about the cousins. Benvolio is Romeo's cousin and friend. And then we had Tybalt. It's Juliet's cousin and friend. Her cousin. And then of course we also have Lord Capulet, because they got into that royal brawl with the Montagues, and Lady Capulet, who joked with her husband and said, "A sword? Please, you need a crutch," because he's old, and that's funny. So here we have our character map. We were introduced to a lot of characters here in Act 1, Scene 1. We've seen Romeo as he is lovesick, and I don't know if you guys know this yet or not, but he might fall in love with somebody from the Capulets. We'll have to wait and see. So that's the end of the reading for today. Here's what I need you guys to do now. We've learned a little bit about these characters, but in your draft books, I want you to consider, we're going to do a little character analysis. So you're going to look at a personality trait that you saw and evidence from the text that shows you that personality trait. So, for instance, we're going to do one together here. We're going to do Romeo together, but on your own, you're going to have to do Tybalt and Benvolio. But if you look at how Romeo acts, that can show you a little bit about what his personality is like. So we will consider him to be a romantic, which I think is a pretty safe guess. And we can say his line that he uses is line 197 and 198 of the text, where he says, "Such is love's transgression, griefs of mine own lie heavy in my breast." So he is very grief-stricken and lovesick, and he can't get over it. So now you got to look at Tybalt and see what kind of personality he has, and Benvolio and what kind of personality he has. And this needs to be completed for your next day in class.